Hey everyone, Brian Zane here. Well, this Saturday night, WWE brings up their latest premium live event offering in the form of Backlash. No more WrestleMania Backlash, just regular Backlash again. And it comes to us from Puerto Rico, which, as we all know, is the shining star of the Caribbean. And I'm going to give you my predictions for Backlash here in this video. The draft just concluded, so a lot of wrestlers are moving from one show to the other. Many are staying put. There are going to be a couple of champions who are switching brands, which means we might get ourselves another awkward title swap this week on TV. More on that later based on my picks. But let's begin with the U.S. Championship match, as Austin Theory's heading his way to SmackDown soon. But first he has to defend the belt against Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed. Considering Gunther is moving to Raw with the IC title, to me this feels like a no-brainer that Theory is going to retain, keep the championship on the blue brand. The only question is, how sneaky is it going to be? Because when you've got Reed and Lashley in the same ring with him, and we also know the history between Theory and Lashley wrestling for the U.S. title in the past, so that's going to play into it too. But I believe with these two big guys, they're going to be, throwing each other around crazy. We're going to see some crazy big boy stuff in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that here, but in the end, you're going to see Theory somehow, some way, sneaking away and keeping the championship. I hope that he gets some good opponents as the champion on SmackDown that will hopefully allow him to, just flesh out better as a heel. I think that most of his opponents as of late haven't done it quite the way Cena did, and even then it kind of risked hurting him. So I think that if he's able to kind of find his groove on SmackDown and finally shed all the different past attachments he's had in feuds and whatever, and do something good on SmackDown, then hopefully there's hope for him in his reign yet. Well, here's a match that seems perfect for a show such as Backlash. It's post-WrestleMania, no real stakes involved with a match like this. It's before the draft officially takes effect, so what do wins and losses even mean at this point this weekend, as Omos takes on Seth F. Rollins. This one's kind of hard for me to pick because on the one hand, I think Seth is one of those guys who's kind of bulletproof and he can kind of lose against anybody and he'll still be one of the most over guys on the show. Omos could probably use a big win after his high-profile loss to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I wouldn't put it past them for Omos to beat Rollins in that way, considering how dominant they have built Omos on television and stuff. But Omos seems to be the kind of character who will lose the big feud enders or the big big points at pay-per-views. We've seen that before lately. You'd love to see him get some big wins that matter for him to get some momentum. But also, you got to build up Seth Rollins because you got to believe he's going to be a contender for that new World Heavyweight Championship they're going to determine at Night of Champions. So what do you do in that case? It's a tricky one. I think I'm going to go with Seth winning this one. I think him winning is going to be more important for the build of that belt than Omos winning will be to building him up as a character, because he's always going to be there. And they love using big guys. They don't seem to ever mind having big guys lose important matches. See what they did with Braun Strowman and with Big Show and with Kane over the years, basically. They're not above that. So that's why I think that Rollins is going to win this one. Now here's a match I'm looking forward to. It's a San Juan street fight as Damian Priest of the Judgment Day takes on Bad Bunny, who is the special guest host for the show, and him being a native Puerto Rican, it only makes sense that he would be part of this event. This is going to be a fun match. We've seen Bad Bunny's work in the past couple of years. I think he definitely shocked and defied a lot of people's expectations when he first stepped into the ring a couple of years ago, and he and Damian Priest had that history because Damian was that kind of established wrestler that Bad Bunny was attached to in that whole build-up. They wrestled at WrestleMania together, so they've got that history, and I think that's what makes this match especially captivating for me, is to see how that's going to pay off. This, to me, feels like it's going to be a match on the level of the other kind of celebrity matches we've seen or the outsider matches. I feel it's going to be very similar to something like Knoxville Zayn from last WrestleMania. Not necessarily wacky, but there's a lot of moving parts. We're going to see the Judgment Day interfere. We're probably going to see the LWO counteract them. And so you're going to have a bunch of moving parts in this thing. You're going to get a lot of gimmicks and weapons and stuff. I think this is going to be the potential to be one of the most entertaining matches here, because for Bad Bunny, this person who's not a fully trained wrestler, but he's still very impressive when he does show out. So it makes you wonder, damn, what kind of stuff are these two going to pull off? I'm definitely eager with anticipation about this matchup here. But to me, I have only one way this is going to end, that Bad Bunny will win. Because, hey, he's the hometown guy, and, they want a feel-good moment. So Bad Bunny's going to win. I'm going to lump these two matches in with each other because to me they're very similar situations with very similar outcomes for my pick at least. Because over on SmackDown you have Rhea Ripley who's defending her belt against Zelina Vega of the LWO, but she's on her way to Raw soon. Meanwhile, the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair is defending against Io Sky of Damage Control, but Bianca is on her way to SmackDown. So in my mind, there's no way that these two are losing their belts. You're going to have that awkward championship swap. And just remember how well it went with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair a couple of years ago. We're going to get more of the same here with Rhea and Bianca. I bet they're each going to get another reign tacked onto their records, what have you. I think each match has its own interesting story going into it. More so with Rhea and Zelina. I think it's going to be a very interesting crowd dynamic because Zelina is, she is of Puerto Rican descent, and so it's going to be kind of a homecoming for her. Rhea Ripley is the badass heel you can't really help but cheer for, but I think that it's not going to matter in this situation going against Zelina. So they're definitely going to be playing up more of the heel face, the proper thing because LWO is babyface. So I think we're going to get more of that, but it's going to be dominance from Rhea and Bianca. I think it's going to beat Io Sky. Wouldn't be surprised if Bayley gets involved in that match, considering we're seeing, it looks to be some kind of rift between members of Damage Control right now. Like Bayley didn't seem too keen on Io becoming the number one contender, so I wouldn't be surprised if that plays into the finish of that match. But yeah, as far as the title matches themselves, both champions are going to retain, and then they're going to swap belts. In the six-man tag match, you have the undisputed tag champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with the returning Riddle on their side going against Solo Sikoa and the Usos of the Bloodline. To me, this match just feels like kind of an extension or a sequel or follow-up match, what have you, to what we saw at WrestleMania Night 1 when it was the Usos versus Owens and Zayn, carrying on that storyline of, the former Bloodline members, fractured Sami getting revenge with his one-time, now again, good friend Kevin Owens, and now you get Riddle back in there too. And I think fans have been wanting to see him for a while. So, this is going to be a fun matchup here, but I just kind of see more of the same, what we saw at WrestleMania. I would imagine that the babyface team, Owens, Zayn, and Riddle, come out with the win on this one here and further kind of drive that wedge and that dissension and that tension between the members of the Bloodline. I think when you keep these teams apart after they're going to be doing in the draft, there's no more use for them to be meddling with each other at that point. So this will be a good blow-off for the good guys to win and just keep that angle going between Roman and his disappointment with the Usos. In what I'm guessing is going to be the main event, Cody Rhodes will take on Brock Lesnar, and boy, how much bigger would this match have felt and how much more interested do I think we would all be if Cody Rhodes won at WrestleMania and was defending the championship against Lesnar, because that feels like more of a story. This is definitely one where, it could go so many different ways based on how you want to project and how you want to portray each man going forth. You could have Cody go down the whole sad sack, John Cena route after Mania 28, where he just feels like he's on this downward spiral in his career, and he could lose this one as another obstacle. Since so many people lose to Brock Lesnar, it doesn't seem like a shock that he would lose. So I'm kind of leaning toward Lesnar winning. Wouldn't be surprised if they had Cody kind of pull out this ultimate upset, but I don't think this is the right time. Considering where Lesnar is, I think you got to keep building him up now. Now that he's heel again, I think you keep building him up as this unstoppable killer, and I think that you could have something with Cody beating him down the line. I also think it's going to happen here at Backlash. You could also have it just kind of end in a wild no contest, to protect both guys, but that seems kind of weak. So I'm just going to go, if I have to pick a winner, it's probably going to be Lesnar. And I haven't had too much of a chance to talk about it since I don't review the weekly shows anymore, but I think it's worth talking a little bit about, where Cody fits into this whole world championship situation on Raw, since that's going to be the brand with that belt. Cody really should stay as far away from world titles as possible until next WrestleMania. If that's the goal, is to have him get that rematch or whatever, he cannot win the World Heavyweight Championship, because especially so soon after WrestleMania, it's been said before, I'm not the first person to say this, but it would be the ultimate consolation prize, and it just would feel like a runners-up trophy. If Cody, too bad, kid, you lost to WrestleMania, but here's your own belt. because you lost to the actual belt that matters. By the way, what's the point of building up to 1,000 days as champion if you're already undermining that with another world championship? It just seems very counterintuitive. I don't know why they just didn't just wait after the 1,000 days to say, damn, here, take this other belt. But I mean, if we're going to boil it down to say, like, I'm just doing wild speculation, if it comes down to like Cody and Seth once again in a match for the world title, I think Seth should win it because, he's been further removed. He's been so far removed from a world title. And also, I mean, he's just put in the work. It seems like a good kind of like, here you go for all the work you've done holding this show down for as long as you've done. And I don't think it feels as much of a consolation prize for him having also lost to Roman Reigns, because that was like a one-time deal. The build to that wasn't nearly as big as Cody finished the story Rhodes. And, it's been longer, it's been a further time has passed since that match with Roman. So I think that if he were to become the first world champion, that would be, I think, a smarter choice. But yeah, Cody cannot win it anytime soon. But that's just me doing some deep speculating, folks. What do you think about Backlash this Saturday? What are your picks going into it? I want to hear what you have to say about it in the comment section below. And of course, I will see you on the other side with my review of Backlash dropping sometime on Sunday. But until then, folks, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time. And of course, we have lots more Hulkamania in store for you this month, so stay tuned for that. That's all I can tell you.